Just look at this. Look at how beautiful this is. You know? Smack bang in the middle of a town. You know, that's the entrance. Just there. I do feel very, very blessed, and you wouldn't believe the amount of times that I've felt actual guilt for living where I live. Even though it's not posh at all. We moved in about 18 years ago, and we had a look at the house, we had a look at the garden, saw its potential for chickens and growing food and stuff like that, and then we went for a walk and happened across this video in a beautiful stretch of canal and all of these blackberry bushes and lots of reasons, and that was it. Sold. 1, 2, 3, go, 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 go. That's just part of her routine. She has to do it. So I do think, does anyone else think or feel or believe that everything sort of happens for a reason? Now that there'll be again, that'll be like a split thing, you know. People believe in just pure coincidence, and some people believe in signs, and I'm more of a sign man. I didn't used to be, but when a succession of things happen that seem to kind of work together and fall into place beyond coincidence, you know, the odds of these sequences are just in the billions. Too complicated really for me to explain. But I do think we picked that house for a reason. Yeah, do you know, and it's again, it's prime territory for stealth farming. It's perfect for that because there's just loads and loads and loads of space, and a lot of it no one would know. So I can extend my garden out here and no one would have a Scooby-Doo. There's a massive rabbit population down here, lots of wood pigeons. I've downloaded so many videos. I've not actually put it into practice because I don't like the idea of murdering an animal. I'm just not built like that. I'm a child of nature, but I'm also a survivor, and I'll do whatever it takes to survive. Again, whilst maintaining some sort of moral compass along the way. And yeah, some would say, well, killing a rabbit. Well, have a think about all of the things in your house. To anyone that, you know, that would criticise that. Any leather jackets you've got. Leather shoes. The list goes on, as you know. The list goes on and on and on. And animals have had to be killed in order for you to have these products. So yeah, going into farming, so that 20,000 farmers that showed up on that rally, that wouldn't have been all of the farmers. And even with the farmers that didn't attend, for whatever reason, I'm sure they had their reasons, and I'm sure their reasons would have been honourable. We're still not food secure in this country. We still don't have enough, we still don't produce enough food, especially healthy food, to supply the current population in this country, which is growing and growing and growing, you know. So even when we get some sort of system in place, formulate old-fashioned farming practices so that we don't lose the permaculture by ploughing it over every year, there are other ways. And but these other ways aren't being used because there are lots of big companies out there that want to make sure that we farm the way that we continue to farm, because it's more productive and they get to sell their herbicides, their pesticides, etc. And Gates with his GM crops. We need to come away from all of that. And the only way that we can become self-sufficient as a country, food-wise, again, is by growing our own food. So, I mean, my next door neighbour, I mean, you couldn't get a more effort-free back garden. You can't call it, it's not even a garden, it's a yard. It's all been paved over, all of it, and he claims to be switched on. You know, I think it's the people. So I struggle with people that are still, did you want cheese tenders last night? I still struggle with people like that who haven't got a Scooby-Doo as to what's really happening in the world, whether that's out of deliberate ignorance or just because they're just the system, the education system growing up, and the programming on mainstream TV and all of the other shit, all of the other subliminal messaging that we see on billboards. And I don't know if anyone's ever seen the film They Live. What a great film. What a great film. That was way ahead of its time. And if you've seen it, I encourage you to watch it again. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. So people like that do irritate me, but I see them as potentials. It's the ones that claim that they know about this and they know about that, but they know jack shit about anything, you know. And then you start to enter into some sort of debate with them, of which I love, and you just tie them up in knots. You either tie them up in knots, or they come back with defensive one-liners that make no sense. So Sally's best friend, I can't, she's so twisted up into the system. I said to her about 4.5 years ago, they're going to come for our kids. And she said, don't be daft. And I insisted that was the case, that was happening. So she asked me to provide some sort of evidence. So I did. Girls, wait. So I did. I knew that just flashing the occasional Facebook post or something like that wouldn't work. I don't suggest anybody does that. Facebook's all right for sharing a little bit of information here and there, but as far as trying to provide really decent, good quality official information, then it's probably not, it's not good, you know. You need something that's gonna, you need something to put in front of them that's official. And even then, you know, she'd come back with something like, well, that's happening over there, it's not happening over here. There was always a stupid, shitty, pathetic response. And it's a shame, because again, you know, this whole event has been so divisive, so unbelievably divisive, that it's ended up with me not being particularly fond of her anymore. And when Sal died, I asked my dad to put Sal's ashes in a set of keepsakes for family, immediate family members, and one for her. And that was coming up to nearly 3 Christmases ago. Something like that. And I've still got it, it's still wrapped. So, yeah, right, going back to, anyway, going back to the farmers. The whole self-sufficiency thing and trying to grow your own food and that, and I know that it's impossible for 99.9% of us to be able to grow enough food to become self-sufficient, you know, self-sustaining, because the world that's been created around us has been designed to turn us into slaves. And so we can only do what we can do, but we still need to do our absolute best. And preppers are good at that, you know. We think a different way. A prepper put out a short earlier on stating that Funky Prepper hasn't been around for about a month, and I think when people are used to prepping channels putting out regular content almost on a daily basis, people just assume that something's happened. And yeah, I'm not subscribed to Funky Prepper. I've mentioned it in a previous video. I just don't connect with him, but obviously the more preppers out there, the better. But again, he's another grifter, and I'm not a fan, as I made that very passionately known. I was about here actually yeah. But one thing that I do agree on, that one specific prepper said on his channel, another what I would consider a grifter, you know, whether these people take offence to me saying that or not, it is what it is. I do think that all prepping channels should come together and unite, but just do it in a less wait. Just do it for the people. rather than the pennies. Now, yeah, I understand that money's tight and people want to make a living, but there are more moral ways of making a living. I've always found a way, always found a way. I'll always find a way, always. And it has to be, moral. I can't just work for a company or an organisation that's bad news, you know, that's evil, that's twisted, immoral. And yeah, I don't really get that. I don't get that at all. Because you kind of, I think what I've done is, because I believe I'm half decent at giving out advice, good sound advice, based on total common sense, but I'm not very good at taking my own advice. And I think if you compare others to yourself, you're setting yourself up for disappointment, guaranteed, because not everyone else shares your principles. And yeah, which makes the world a colourful place, I suppose. Yeah, we all need to be different. It's good to be different, it is. But I just think there should be just a common thread of decency that runs through good, honest people. And I think generally there is. But I do get disappointed by people that are afraid to speak their mind. That does disappoint me. And again, you know, is it the angry bootneck? I've only just discovered this guy. He's great. His wit is out of this world. But he lives in California. He's a northerner, British. And he lives in California now, which is, a lot of people call it California. So, but he doesn't fall under the same sort of speech restriction that we're living under. You know, a police state. Who would have known? But then, having said that, again, it's the veil's lifted. It's always been there. It's just on steroids now, and it's on steroids because we're on a tipping point. So yeah, he can say whatever the hell he wants, which is great, you know. But then I watched a Dr. Campbell video, John Campbell, and he was apologising to YouTube for telling the truth. You know, my mistake, I do apologise. Shit like that. Things like that piss me off. Don't apologise to an abuser. Makes no sense, does it? You wouldn't thank someone for coming up to you and punching you full on straight in the face, because that's exactly what YouTube does when it gives you a strike and gets you to do one of these courses. I'll never do another one. I was just I was curious, but he did one and then apologised, you know. after I did mine, I called YouTube commie. And fuck you, YouTube. You know? You've got to say it how it is. Be true to yourself. If you're true to yourself, you're true to everything. So yeah, going back to Funky Prepper, I hope he's alright, you know. He's, I'm sure that he's provided a lot of people with a you know, a lot of good advice and flogged him a load of stuff that he's been given for free. Again, that's another thing. I've seen channels flogging stuff. You know that so let me give you one example. The All Powers 2000 watt solar generator. I've got one, Ruth Smith's got one, and probably one or two of you other guys have got one as well, or something similar. And they had quite a big channel. They'd obviously been given one of these solar generators, and I bought one not long after Ruth Smith. So I'd put mine to the test just like she'd put hers to the test, and we were both pretty impressed with it. But boiling a kettle, it cannot do. Not a proper kettle, you know, your normal kettle with a 3-pin plug socket. So they were stating that it could do that. So that's another thing that fucks me off about preppers. They get freebies and then just push them on their subscribers just so that they can get that product for free, you know, regardless. So I called them out for lying, because they were lying. Some of the things that they tested their solar generator on, that they stated works with, was an out and out lie. So yeah, I don't like grifters. I don't fucking like grifters. You know? If anyone asked me to try and push something on the channel, I'd research the shit out of it first, and then I would maybe consider it, but it would be a very, very, very honest review. And if all the other reviews were a little bit here and a little bit there, I wouldn't bother. If the reviews were really good and I got it and tested it out and it did everything that it says it would do on the tin, and there was a decent amount knocked off, and I thought it would be useful to you, I would consider it. I would. But as it stands, the things that I've been asked to push on the channel, I've knocked them back, because they're just useless pieces of crap, you know, that you wouldn't benefit from. Going back to farming, I feel like I've waffled. I don't know if I'm going to upload this or not, because I feel like I've just waffled a load of shit. So the fact that we currently are kingfisher, I've always wanted to take a photo of them, but they never stay still. And that's an indication of how clean this stretch of canal is. Yeah, if we're not able to produce enough food for the people that live in this country now, imagine how that's going to be when there are fewer farms, and there will be initially, until we get back on track and bring all these bastards to book. So just keep buying that food in, just keep buying it in, and just keep stockpiling, but think it through. Just keep thinking it through. You know, don't buy stuff that's going to be that's going to require loads and loads and loads of power and loads and loads and loads of water, if possible. And you know, leave stuff to soak. Zeph, wait. Leave stuff to soak overnight so that it's kind of, you know, partly cooked, if you like. You know, it's absorbed loads and loads of water. Just try and find as many efficient ways to get by as you possibly can. And yeah, don't fret. You'll be glad that you've got that stockpile. Really glad. So right, lads. Right, so I'm gonna, oh man, I'm telling you, it's like Crufts. Actually, it's not been too bad. It's not been too bad. I'll leave it there. I'll see you in the next one. Much love and ciao for now.